All right, so there's no way to turn around. So I literally have to like just jump and do it. I'm facing uphill right now. Ah, bingo. And this is, if you go too far, this is what's behind you, freeway. There's some people on sleds that have gotten up on that bank, and it's pretty sketchy. So at first glance, it does look like a toy, but the plastic is pretty thick and durable. And you can make adjustments to the binding with these holes. And these are snowboard bindings. There's a version that's for skis, but I do recommend the snowboard version because you can put, you know, snowboard boots, of course, but also you can put in regular waterproof shoes or whatever snow shoes you have. Less ankle support, obviously, than if you had snowboard boots. This is the Snowfeet Pro version, which means the bindings are a little bit more higher end than the other version, which is a bit more basic. The bottom does have these metal slats similar to skis, and this is what makes it legal for resorts. If it doesn't have this, I guess it's considered a different grade, or it's not categorized as a ski and it's not permitted on the slopes. Good. So the overall verdict on the Snowfeet. To be honest, at first I was pretty disappointed, but I think it's because it took some time to realize its limitations and the tolerance of the Snowfeet. So obviously it's not for everyday use. In the ads, you see people running down slopes alongside skateboarders and snowboarders, and that's really not the thing. So no, whatever slope or level or angle of the slope is, it's gonna want to have whatever element that's coming down the slope, whether it's a rolling person or a snowboard or a skier or a sledder, it's gonna want to go a certain speed. And the thing about the Snowfeet is the shortness of it doesn't allow it to pick up to the speed that it wants to go relative to the slope. In other words, it's too slow. So when you're going down a hill and the hill wants you to go faster and the Snowfeet wants you to go slower, you can you can see the conflict there, and it's really, really hard to balance. So I think if you find the correct slope for your weights or your level or your carving or whatever, then it's actually pretty good. So the challenge is finding the balance of where the Snowfeet can be tolerated or can be used, and also the type of snow and the amount of snow versus powder versus ice, that also matters a lot. Versus ski and snowboard, you can ride in ice and you can ride in powder. For the Snowfeet, that's not the case. It has to be kind of an ideal density of snow and an ideal angle, again based on all the other parameters. So I think it has its place. I'm not sponsored by Snowfeet at all, although I did reach out to you guys and you guys did not respond. I will be bringing them. It's good for when I'm teaching my kids how to ski because they're more maneuverable and I can kind of carve upwards, uphill a little bit and kind of step upwards, versus skis are just so long and cumbersome, and then snowboards, my feet are locked in, and to be able to handle 2 kids at one time skiing while, you know, wearing skis and snowboard myself is really hard. So for Snowfeet, for that application, I think is perfect. And in this case, the kids are out there at the snow park and they're playing around. And so I got to use the Snowfeet for those little kind of bunny slopes, and it was fun. It's tiresome because I got to walk up the hill. There's no lifts here or anything like that. No magic carpet. So, you know, in those instances, it's really good. As far as skating on flat ground as if they're ice skates, I'm gonna have to work on that. But for now, you know, I can see that it may be possible, but I don't have enough experience to really say yes or no whether I can do it. It may be able to, but for me, it's definitely a challenge. I do ice skate, I rollerbladed, I e-skate, I one wheel, I EUC, I do all sorts of those kind of things. So the balance and, like, you know, understanding those kinds of things is not unfamiliar to me. But it's just, it takes some getting used to for sure. So again, really depends on your application. If you're thinking you're going to use it for slopes alongside skiers and snowboards in that capacity and go backwards and do all those tricks, I mean, I'm sure there's some people who can do that, but vast majority of you, us, will not be able to do that. So just kind of keep that in mind before you're spending money on this Snowfeet. What got me into Snowfeet is back in the day, there was something called Big Feet, and it was a different brand. And I forget the length of those, but those were a little bit longer. I want to say like 6 inches longer above the toe, maybe like 4 inches longer behind the heel. And those were an ideal length, because the speed of it is great. And you can actually go alongside snowboarders and skiers and very maneuverable, and you go backwards. And it doesn't take a lot. The learning curve isn't as hard as something that is as short as Snowfeet. So keep that in mind. If you're going to get something and you're familiar with skiing and you don't want to learn something new necessarily, I would definitely get the longer Snowfeet. The company has longer versions, and so I would go with the longer version if you're looking to adapt to it very quickly. The Snowfeet, the short ones that are like the size of your foot, is a whole different ball game, a whole different thing. So in some ways, I do wish that I got the longer ones, and then that can be used in place of skis and in place of snowboard. The Snowfeet themselves, the smaller version, that's not really it. So just know what you're getting before you get into it. And that's it. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, comments, leave it down below, and I'll get back to you. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.